we might have a problem. All right, just to get this out of the way, Sonic X Shadow or Sonic Cross. This game is really good. I'm sure you've heard from every creator under the sun about how good this game is, and I'm here to echo that. So just let me gush for a minute, okay? The game hit just about every major point that needed to be hit. The flow, the music, the replay value, all of it. It makes me genuinely happy to see so many people playing Sonic Generations again and seeing all the new people become addicted. Apparently, I underestimated how excited people actually were because on day one, the game already crossed over 1 million units sold, which is insane. What's even more interesting is that apparently people just didn't know that it was a remaster of Sonic Generations, even though it says it in the title. I guess in all fairness, a lot of the adverts for the game focused on the new Shadow content, so it makes sense. However, it's still in the title. I mean, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this stew, I do want to take a minute to talk about the game, because Generations is easily in my top 5 favorite Sonic games. So for the Sonic Gens side of things, as far as I'm aware, I believe that it's a direct translation, meaning that it's still running on Hedgehog Engine 1. On the other side of things, Shadow Gens is running on Hedgehog Engine 2, which powered Forces and Frontiers. Shadow is developed from the ground up on Engine 2, while Sonic is running the same as it did in Engine 1 back in 2011. It's actually really interesting seeing both engines run side by side on the same console. For anyone who wasn't in my chat when I streamed the game live over at twitch.tv/official, by the way, I played the PS5 version. I did look for an Xbox copy for my Series X because I already pre-ordered the PS5 Collector's Edition, but I just could not, for the life of me, find an Xbox copy anywhere. I called like 8 or 9 stores near me, and one store was like, yeah, we got one copy. And then when I went there, it just evaporated, gone. It just poof, in the sky. I don't know where it went, but it's gone. So I'm playing on PS5. Shadow Generations does what the original Shadow game aimed to do way back when, which is make you feel like a badass. The running meme over the years is that Shadow is the epitome of edge, the hot topic special. But now, we just unironically think that this shit goes hard. Last time Sega tried to convince us Shadow was a convicted badass with an agenda to do things his way and only his way, it ended up being pretty goofy, for obvious reasons. Shadow Gens ended up feeling more like a Dragon Ball Z game at points, which is super fun. The gameplay on Shadow's side feels like a perfect mix of Frontiers and Unleashed. It's like a better feeling cyber stage. If you remember my review, I said that those were actually the weakest point of Frontiers. If you missed that video, check it out here after the video, or else. Now on Sonic's side of things. But you know, the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they didn't fix it. To clarify, the core gameplay and jank from the original game is still here, which is great. Again, it feels like a direct translation to the new hardware. The only real thing that was fixed was like weird bugs, like for example, the quick step didn't have audio in the original version, and now it does. So, you know, little things like that. If any of the Sonic modders are watching this right now, please let me know in the comments if calling it a direct translation is accurate, because this is coming from someone who regularly plays Sonic Generations, like the OG one, on my spare time, like off screen. So let me know if that's a good way of calling it. Thanks. Now, some speedrunners have told me that there are new things for this new version of Sonic Generations for that community, since the old tricks allegedly just don't work anymore. So it's not 100% the same jank, but for casual play, it's going to be basically one for one. Some of the new quirks I've noticed for Sonic are most likely due to the higher frame rate. I actually encountered some of this on stream. A lot of tricks that I used for my runs in OG gens suddenly didn't work anymore for new gens. I want to clarify though, again, none of this matters to casual players. You will not notice anything that I'm talking about. I'm just mentioning it because it was my experience, and it also makes the script look bigger. This is also the console player experience. I don't know what PC players are dealing with. I'm assuming the same. If you're a PC player, let me know if you ran into any more jank on your end in the comments below. Anyways, Sonic and Shadow Love Machine Extravaganza is genuinely 100% an amazing game. And I genuinely think that this is the perfect representation of modern Sonic to the new audiences, specifically because of its ability to just pick up and play. That is its strongest aspect. Anyone can play through the game pick it up again on any other day and just start playing some levels again. But for whatever reason, the only thing that was overhauled for Sonic Generations was the dialogue. The entire story, animations, camera angles, everything is almost the exact same as the original game. However, the game went through rewrites and the cast ended up just redubbing over their original performances, which makes things extremely awkward a lot of the time.
That skyline looks familiar, but I can't be sure.
Well, that's as good a lead as any, Tails. Back in a flash. It was great teaming up with you, or me. Maybe this will fast-track you to learning some new tricks in the future. Wait, I mean, past. Ugh, time travel's a chore.
Also, since they didn't change the animations to match up with the new dialogue, this next one just makes it look like Sonic just ate an entire island.
Thanks, Sonic. Now then, tell me, where is the rest of my island?
The rewrites overall are just very weird. Like, there's actually less than 20 minutes of cutscenes in the entire game. So I don't know who decided that rewriting only 20 minutes of dialogue was essential for this game, but we really could have gone without. The end goal of the dialogue is the same regardless. It feels like a lot of the characters are just over-explaining the plot, even though this is one of the simplest stories we've had in a Sonic game in a very long time. You could argue that maybe the rewrites were done to kind of match with Shadow's tone in the story, but that doesn't line up either. The story in Generations is the same. Sonic has party, bad guy, adventure, good guys win. I'm not exaggerating. That's the entire story. There's no deep message or character conflict or character growth or anything. The plot is actually just here to fill the checkbox of having a plot. And that's not a bad thing. It's just some goofy Saturday morning cartoon type shit. But did you catch when I said that things were almost the same? Well, besides the dialogue, the only set of animations that were changed in Sonic Generations was for Amy. As far as I can remember, Amy is the only character that's been altered for the cutscenes. They made her less boy-crazed, since that was really her only personality back then. But for Generations, the animations were still kind of funny and goofy, like this one with Sonic, or when Amy decimates Knuckles into a tree. Now it's just an awkward and then a little tap on the shoulder. I don't think there's a deeper meaning to Amy murdering Knuckles, so it just seemed very unnecessary. But again, what do you guys think? On the Shadow side of stuff, the writing and story is still, kind of corny, but there's more flavor to the dish. They explored more aspects of Shadow's personality. Spoilers, by the way, if that wasn't obvious. It was really interesting seeing a modern Shadow get to interact with Maria again, since her and Gerald are brought back into white space because of the Time Eater shenanigans. We kind of see Shadow go through a big wave of grief. He starts trying to tell himself that he can save Maria this time, even though the timeline is already set. Like, damn, dog, I feel for you. There are some nice moments here, but this isn't explored that much. There's more that can easily be done if we wanted to dive deeper into a Shadow story, but it kind of gets swept under the rug. And don't get me wrong, the story in Shadow is a lot of fun and pretty interesting. I just wanted more. The main villain of the game is Black Doom. He's back because, again, Time Eater shenanigans, but him and Mr. Time don't really interact at all, which is kind of bizarre, considering that Doom is portrayed to be a much bigger threat here. For those of you who don't know, Shadow Gens happens at the exact same time as Sonic Gens. There's even a section where we see Shadow's side of the story when he meets up with Sonic, which is kind of bizarre because this game uses the Frontiers model of Sonic for the cutscene instead of the Generations model. I guess they just didn't have the rig for the old model or something, even though they reanimated the original model. Can someone a lot smarter than me tell me why in the comments? But anyways, with Black Doom becoming the biblically accurate angel, Shadow steps out to stop him. And on the way, we get goopy Black Doom powers. Turns out that a big plot point here is that Shadow still has part of Black Doom's DNA in him. The game just kind of casually says Black Doom helped Gerald make Shadow. Now, how they got in contact? We don't really know. It kind of comes across like,
"Hey Gerald, I saw your Craigslist ad and thought that, maybe I could help you make this guy I brought some goop to help out with it. You don't have to pay me or anything. I'm happy to help.
I won't get too into it so you can experience it for yourself, but yes, it's really good. What really makes it special is the visual storytelling. Black Doom is constantly changing the levels you're currently in into something else. And by something else, I mean Radical Highway. For some reason, he just keeps bringing you back to Radical Highway. I'm sure that there's a deeper meaning to it that the Sonic community is going to attach to this, but my headcanon is
I really fucking love Radical Highway.
And with the amount of Ultra Instinct and Venom Goop powers he throws out, Shadow essentially just becomes a badass shonen character. The overall tone and dialogue in Shadow is much better than the rewrites in Sonic gens, which wraps back around to the original question. Why were there rewrites in the first place? With how insanely well the game is doing, along with Sega's interest in doing more remasters, one can only assume that Sonic Unleashed is going to be put in the limelight soon, since it's become a major community favorite. But that might be a problem. Sonic Unleashed is pretty story heavy as compared to a lot of the other Sonic games. There's a very large amount of dialogue throughout the game. This is the most grounded and fleshed out Sonic we've seen before Frontiers. As is, the story is great. I've said multiple times in videos how much I love the game's plot. It feels both equal parts serious and fun. It's just about two friends venturing out to stop the bad guy, but also exploring the world together and learning new things. The dialogue itself is already fine. There's enough flavor text and over-explaining of the plot as the characters go. We learn as the characters learn. It's a slow process. If it goes the same route as the Sonic Gens rewrites, then we may get something like
Sonic! Sonic, why not teach Sonic? Sonic! Sonic! Sonic!
That also begs the question, is it gonna be a redub? Unleashed was one of the last few games to use the 4Kids cast, so we have Jason Griffith's Sonic. I know people have their favorite Sonic voice. I've grown to love them all, genuinely. Unleashed is Jason's best performance as Sonic. He has really good voice direction to help him tell this big story. The entire cast do great, so it's gonna be kind of weird to see if the new cast has to redub the game. I'm sure they'd all do well. They're professionals after all. It just really depends on the voice direction that they're given. Otherwise, we might get
Tails.
There's still the worry of introducing the Werehog gameplay to the new generation of Sonic fans. I don't think it'd do as well as Generations is doing, unless they slap a Shadow Unleashed on there, which would kind of be fire. It theoretically could work since Shadow isn't present at all in the main story of Unleashed, but like, what would he do? The game's plot progresses because Sonic does stuff. Everyone else is just dead, I guess? But yeah, with all the pieces in place, we don't really know what's ahead. An Unleashed remaster is imminent, so they may go this route. Shadow apparently sells. So, what do you think? Do you think the Unleashed remaster is in good hands? Also, what did you think of Sonic Cross Shadow Generations? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, while you're down there, make sure you click the subscribe button so you get notified of future videos. So, with all that said, I'll see you all in the next video.